Hello, dear friends. Welcome to a new episode of Merging Minds, the podcast brought to you and powered by BureauWorks. Today, I am excited to have here with us Adrian. Adrian, hi, mate. How you doing?
Hello, Javi. Hello, everyone. Thanks for having
Hey,
me.
welcome to the show, my friend. I am excited about having you today because uh, today we're going to be talking about one of the things that I particularly like a lot. One of the things that is discussed a lot in the industry, but it's not so much done. And I know you're a specialist and you're very well known between the freelancers in the localization industry. Is that correct?
Yeah, I guess you can say that. I don't know if I'm a specialist in in what we're going to talk about, but I try my best. I always have to kind of uh, pace myself in giving advice and like saying what people should do on my YouTube channel. But it's like in the end, I'm just sharing my journey. I'm sharing what works best for me, and if people can somehow take some value from that and replicate that, that's amazing. But yeah, I'm making one video per week every Monday for you can say for freelance translators, but it's like some topics are I give myself a lot of leeway because I said if I want to do this sustainably, I have to be able to do whatever I want on the channel, right? So it's
Yeah.
just always a bit like language related, translation related, but it can go. There are conference vlogs on there. Sometimes I play games, some funny translation fails, etc. So there's a lot on there.
You will be able to tell us a little bit about negotiating as well, because I saw in other of your videos that is about negotiating, and that's one of the weakest links in a lot of people, right? One of the weakest parts in everybody. And I took negotiating classes at Baiken University, yeah? I know how difficult it is. And a lot
Yeah,
of it
the problem is always that a lot of freelancers just feel very small in these negotiations, right? Because often you negotiate with a company or with a whole department maybe, and you're just alone at home. You don't really know. You've never done this before, and it's very easy to kind of slip into almost like a job interview type of relationship, and that's not how it should be, right? Because you should be on the same level, at least meet them at eye level. And so I get these comments a lot, like, "What? How should I behave in an interview and stuff?" So there should
yeah.
never even be an interview. That's not
Yeah.
the thing.
So, friends, for you listening, you see that we have a lot to talk today about, and I haven't even introduced you properly. Like Adrian is the owner. I mean, he's a freelance translator as well. He's not only a freelance translator specialized in German, correct? Am I wrong?
Correct. Yes, German specifically for Swiss German. I'm Swiss originally.
All right. And on top of that, and here's the what makes Adrian even more special, on top of his amazing job, is that he's a content creator, and he has created a community for dedicated to freelance in our industry, right? How about the name of the community?
It's called Freelanceverse. It's a YouTube channel that I started in 2020 with the goal of just 1 year. I wanted to give myself a challenge to make one video a week for a year to see where it leads. I mean, in my wildest dreams, I thought maybe I will reach 1,000 subscribers and I can start monetizing the channel. But that was really like the ultimate goal. And then within 1 year, we like the whole community was so supportive. People were very receptive, even answering each other's questions in the comments. And I thought that's so cool. I love that so much. And then after 1 year, I just kept going. Now it's been 4 years and still going. I take my sanity breaks at Christmas and in the summer, to not go insane because the repetition of every Monday can get quite intense. But usually, I'm pushing a video out every Monday. Some are good, some are worse. It's fine.
Oh, well,
Consistency matters in that case. Yeah.
consistency matters, and that's the first advice Adrian can give you. Like consistency matters, and start doing it today. Like it's like I think like doing all this content creation and all this community building and all this helping and connecting people, the key there is persistency. Start today. It's gonna take time until it gets there. Before we get there, because I think I'm getting excited, but I want to, on top of having this introduction done to you, I want to ask you, Adrian, how did you jump, found the industry? Because most of the guests that come and speak in our interviews in the podcast, most of them found it just stumbled upon it. Like most of them are whatever, somebody that studied history and suddenly got a job in there and then studied there, or somebody that translated a book or whatever. So what's your story?
Yeah, no, for me it was very targeted. So I knew exactly what I want to be and what I want to do. Um, well, not in high school. In high school, I was kind of not knowing what to do. I just looked at my grades, and all the math, all the physics, all the natural science were horrible. So I knew I cannot use that. My language grades were amazing, so I just went online to see what can I do with that. What kind of language jobs are out there, and I had the opportunity to go to university. So I looked up a few profiles, a few bachelor's, and then I found a bachelor in translation, and that sounded super interesting. And that's the first time I heard about the profession. There was no idea of like the industry, as as I call it now, or you call it as well. I had no idea what that means: language industry, localization industry. But being a translator sounded cool, so I thought, why not go for it? And then yeah, I did my bachelor's and then a master's, and during my master's I started freelancing. So I always knew I want to work as a translator, but growing up in Switzerland, being self-employed was not really on my mind, because it's quite tough to start out as a self-employed there, because you need to you need to have a certain standard of living quite quickly, otherwise it gets dire, right? I mean, it's possible, definitely, but having moved to the Netherlands for my masters was much easier to start there, right? It was I instead of finding a student job, I just started freelancing and found within a few months, no, not even within a few weeks, I found some very good clients. That one of them even is still with me until today. So that's quite
Wow.
cool. Yeah.
So you have the client facing part as well, right? And then there's other thing that that surprised me a lot about your profile. And first of all, for those who didn't know Adrian before he was here, his community has over 30,000 followers on YouTube. That's great. That's congratulations, my friend. I don't know if there's a button
Thank
to
you.
click here.
Yeah,
That's
it's
brilliant
really
that you
great.
this audience in 30,000 of over 30,000 people in 4 years. That's brilliant. But before we, as I said, there's another question that I have about you, because this is another thing that's going to make me be your friend forever. You're specialized in sports, right?
Exactly. We had a small football discussion just beforehand. Yeah.
Yes. So
Yeah.
so so how's that? How did you find the sports? And it's funny because we're recording today in June 2024, after one of the biggest conferences of our industry, in which I was able to finally meet in person the director of localization at the FIFA, who is it
No
happens
way.
to be a lady that was born and raised here in my city, just close to my city, and we support the same team. So yeah, how is this? How's your luck? How did you like? Did it come by passion? Did it come by chance? How is it?
Both passion and chance, definitely. Yeah. I didn't start out in it. I started out more like a generalist. I thought about specializing in IT. I went a bit down that road, but relatively quickly I realized that even though like the really cool technical stuff of IT, they would not give to me, because they would go to someone with a computer science background, right? And I don't have that. So I was kind of, it was more surface level specializing, and I didn't really see how I can really penetrate that market properly. So I was doing cool stuff. I was really focusing on subtitling as well, and I was making good revenue. I was happy, but I just knew that I need to, if I want to scale this and if I want to make this sustainable, I need to become the top guy in a very specific niche, right? And by chance, I found one sports client that was mostly, I did retail for them, and then they pivoted to sports retail. So I did product descriptions of running shoes, football boots, football jerseys, and stuff. And I thought, that's kind of cool. Maybe I can follow down that path. And that's when
So,
I made a
Professor,
conscious
how many Instagram accounts on football boots do you follow? Because I follow like 25 different.
decision. I'm not really on Instagram, so I can't answer that. That's a whole
Only on
other
football
topic we
boots.
can talk
If
about.
if I tell
Because,
you about football T-shirts and retro T-shirts and all that stuff, we could be here until tomorrow afternoon.
yeah, exactly, exactly.
It's super interesting because I mean, Bureau Works, we work with a lot of people, but mainly we work with translators and with companies that are tech companies, right? And so for me, it's beautiful to know a little bit more about you on the sports side. So can you tell me, like, once you get that first sports translating job, you start doing this, like, you see challenges. What are the most common challenges that somebody in your niche can find?
Yeah, so after the first job, I thought I didn't know if that's first of all a viable niche, and second, if I'm good enough in it, right? Because like
Uh-huh.
sports is very broad. And then I very quickly realized that I cannot do like very in-depth golf content, for example, because I have no idea about the jargons of golf, right? Every sport has so extremely unique things. And now I'm a very avid winter sports guy, so I know a lot about, well, by now I learned a lot through the job as well, but I already had a lot of knowledge beforehand. And even just like preparing a ski, the amount of words you need to know for the process of preparing the waxing, the you see, I don't even know them in English. I could tell you in German. Luckily, I know these words, but yeah,
But in your
definitely,
part of the world, skiing is such an important sport in Switzerland.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah. So
So the jargon words of every sport are extremely important. Like sometimes for one client, someone that does several sports, like I work for very big retailers as well that have products in all kind of sports. They often look for specific sports translators in a specific sports that know exactly what how the world in this language speaks about the sports, right? So this is definitely the biggest challenge. So I had to, even within sports, I had to specialize down further. So now my three main things that I work every day is football, winter sports, and motorsports. This just happened that these were the ones I found the most clients in.
wow, well, very interesting. Thanks for letting know about that. That's. I mean, I love it. I'm a great fan of sports as well. Football being number one, as I explained here many times. And to me,
Yeah,
when I meet a fellow person that shares the passion for sports, thank you so much.
it's
It's
so
great to
cool. And
meet.
today when we are recording this, it's the well the Euros hasn't kicked off yet, but like
Not yet.
the preliminary content has kicked off, and I'm in the German team for this, so I'm currently working on that, and it's so exciting. It's super cool.
Oh wow. I just bought the new Spanish shirt yesterday for to be ready for that. So so we're
Nice.
starting now. And Adrian, like your background is super interesting. What you're doing is to me is also very very interesting. I really really like it. I like a lot about, and I want to center now a lot about the conversation in your sidekick, quote unquote, let's call it like this, the freelance verse, right? Like I came across the freelance verse before I knew you. This came to me through suggestions on LinkedIn, on YouTube as well, and I found it extremely interesting. I found it that you're giving cool tips to freelancers, right? I know it, but can you introduce us here to those who still haven't heard of the freelance verse, what it is about, and what motivated you to start this platform?
Yeah, sure. In terms of motivation, there were really two big anchor points, I would say. The first one was that I'm when I say that, people always say, "Oh, that's not true," but I'm really not good in marketing in a way, right? I figured out a way that I'm good in it, so I did that. But beforehand, I just didn't know how to sell my services, how to like expose, like find more exposure, put my name out there. So I needed to find a way that works for me, and I'm very much a consumer of YouTube, so I knew exactly what is out there in terms of translation related YouTube content, and there was something out there, but I knew that there's a space for me, right? There was no one who did it more like with the played with the algorithm, used keywords, used tags, used titles to optimize the YouTube algorithms, let's say. So I knew that there is a spot for me, and I had the idea that if I can just passively do marketing like that, then I never have to do it actively, and that's my dream, right? So that was definitely one aspect, and the other aspect was genuinely to help people, because when I started out, I was very lucky to this was more focused on Facebook, but I got a lot of help from more seasoned professionals that showed me the ways, showed me how to set up a company, showed me how to do taxes, invoicing, etc. I was part of an amazing Facebook group back then. So I wanted to give back in a way as well. And now, after I think I started it after 5 years of experience, so I had not very much yet, but I had something to say, right? So I thought
Hmm.
if I can share what I learned in the last 5 years, this can help someone in the next 5 years. So these two were the motivators of starting it, plus being super bored in lockdown as well. That was that was another thing. I
Yeah,
needed
those
some
days.
creativity.
Yeah,
just to flow.
it looks so far behind, and it was the other day, right? Oh my god, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's super fun now to look back at my first videos. I mean, honestly, I can't even watch it. It's but to see the progress that the videos made, that I made in public speaking. I was a mess before, and now I don't have problems to speak in front of hundreds of people. So it's also for me like a personal development journey, very much this whole thing. And I got to meet so many people. So it's cool.
yeah. I think I believe that honestly, the best part that comes out of the content creation and all of this is when, I mean, after that consistency that we've mentioned, when you create an audience and you create a following, quote unquote, people come to you and the connections you can make are brilliant. Like the friends, and I'm not talking only at a professional level, I'm talking about at a personal level. Like uh, when I travel, I stay at my friends' places that I met through social media, through LinkedIn. It's
Oh,
crazy.
really?
So yes, that happens to
Nice.
me a lot. That happens to me a lot. Yes, indeed. Or somebody introduces me to somebody here. That is cool, and it's another motivator to continue doing this thing we call community building or marketing. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah. And
that's the thing, right?
beforehand, I would go to conferences and I would stand awkwardly in the corner and not talk to anyone. And now people
Yeah.
come to me, so it's so much easier.
Yes, yes. Like it happened to
Yeah,
me. I believe this is a trait of your personality, right? Like you don't know, you might be shy, you might be less shy. I'm not shy. I'm not shy. But once you, it's great to continue learning as a personal thing, to put yourself out there and to get to take that fear of rejection out of your space. I've mentioned
yeah,
this before in the podcast, and I want to mention it again. Please, if you can, continue doing for personal growth. It's amazing. Like I wasn't always like I am now, either. So, but
yeah.
these things
And you
help a
learn a
lot.
lot as well that everyone like
Yeah.
if you're not speaking to anyone, you feel like it's only you, right? But then later on,
Yes.
you realize no one really knows what they are doing at these conferences, right? Everyone is just trying to talk to someone and get by. And
Yes.
so if
And
you
everybody's
actually
scared
go to
because
someone,
yeah.
yeah, if you see someone standing alone as well, and you don't need to say a lot, you can, even if you just approach them, it will make them make their day. So
Yeah.
definitely.
For the friends watching this podcast, and now you looking back at these last 4 years, what do you think are some key elements that make a translator community successful and supportive?
I would say authenticity is the key. Like when I look back now, what people gave me, the feedback that people gave me, why they keep watching, why they feel intrigued and want to follow the channel and not just watch a video and click off again, is is always authenticity. They feel like what I say is real, right? I don't lie something to sell. I don't sell my course in the description. Like it's really just sharing my point of view, and I always say it as well. I'm very careful to not give advice, not give any advice that could backfire. So it's all just a journey for myself, sharing my experience, and with that I take a lot of people with me, right? And I try my best to answer all the comments, all the messages I get. It it's not always possible, or it's possible but with a lot of delay. For some people it's too late delay and it's not relevant anymore, but I really try my best to interact with people. And you'd be surprised, like more often than not people say, oh my god, I never expected you would reply. And then I try to like break down this barrier a bit, because it's strange that people think, just because I do this now publicly, that they could not reach out to me. That's not the goal. The goal is actually that they have someone to reach out to. And or if I can't help, at least I can forward them to someone that has information for them. So that's the whole goal: to be real, to be authentic, and then I think you can build a nice community.
I really love it. I really love that you've been authentic because I came across some people that really are not, and they're like, you see a mile or a kilometer. Sorry, we're in Europe, not a mile, a kilometer away. Like, oh my god, this is like how
Yeah,
can
you can tell
then
quite
you,
quickly.
then you yeah, then you hear other stories of like this thing looked good, but then oh my god, when I met this person was horrible. What about the experience? I believe in authenticity, and also if I can add something here, Adrian, on top of authenticity, I believe also in the power of storytelling and like how you come up with a story, whatever it is, digest it, show it out there. make it authentic. It's all one, right? Like if I can tell a story, like I am I the story that I try to tell on my end is like I am a nomad. I travel to meet people. I travel to create connections. I travel to live experiences, to know the world. And ultimately, all these connections, all these travels turn into business opportunities for the company that I'm working for. And that's the goal. That's how it should go. That's the storytelling, all liaison into one and all connected, and those are the results. That's what do you
That's
think?
amazing. That's
That's
amazing.
your case too, right? I guess, right?
I guess so. Yeah. I mean, storytelling for me is more like all the videos are interconnected, right? It's if you look back on the last 4 years, it's all a big storyline of my business. Sometimes going up, sometimes going down. What I currently struggle with, what I'm good at. I'm in that way. I'm definitely storytelling, and then on a smaller level, also within but one video, I'm writing the script for every video, right? It's not just clicking film,
Yeah,
record, and then upload
yeah,
immediately. No, I come up with the concept, I do idea creation, I write the script, I film, I edit. So it's a whole process. And there I definitely try to do storytelling. I cannot do that every week. That's just not feasible, right? Sometimes I'm super busy, sometimes I'm on holiday and I need to pre-produce. And I usually make some videos that I'm super proud of, and there I can really see the line of storytelling and writing, because I love writing in general, and that's how I express my writing passion in a way with script writing. And then other videos are just filler videos, that because I rather have consistency than making a video every 2 months. That is amazing, right? But the goal is to keep my name out there, and that's why I make
yeah,
them
yeah, yeah. And that's
every week.
it's very interesting that you mentioned this, and I think you understood the. I read a book about this some years ago. It was recommended to me by one of my mentors in the industry. It was about the power of enabling a story, right? And I really like what you mentioned here. And here's a mistake that I'm seeing people commit a lot, especially when they're whether it's enterprise sales, freelance sales, because at the end we're all selling stuff, right? It's the fact that, and let's put it on a Star Wars comparison, that people or those who try to create a community, they think that they are Luke Skywalker when they're not. They're Master Yoda, right? I mean, you have to position yourself at that, as that person, or your position that tells the story, or brings people together, or brings whatever together, um, helping your Luke Skywalker grow and continue making his life better, right? And that is the I think that is the key, and I think you did very well. While most people out there, they position themselves as the Jedi leader, and they're not.
Oh, I see. Okay, okay. Nice analogy.
Yeah, right. It's yeah. I think it makes a lot of sense, no?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I
and
mean
let
there
me,
is a lot of people that kind of share, I don't know what you would call it, content creators, I guess, that take themselves way too seriously, right? And I try not to do that at all. So it's really, yeah. Whoever wants to stop by is more than welcome, but
and that's
managed
the and
expectations.
that's the epitome of all inclusive. Like you come back if you come by if you feel like, right. I'm not gonna force you to come back, right? And that's so.
Exactly.
And I want to ask you as well because I try to sometimes build initiatives around the people that I connect. Like I want to make them meet somewhere, or I want to create an event and then talk. And I used to create those panels before to connect people and to talk, etc., right? Can you name or explain or tell us a little bit about or a couple of initiatives that you launched within the freelance verse to strengthen those community ties, to help others, and to bring you eventually more business to yourself?
Yeah, so it has. I have one big idea that is in the works, or at least I wanted to have it done this year, but it's probably going to be more next year. But I want to do something in person. Definitely, I want to create an event where people can sign up and get together and learn from each other in workshop formats, do co-working together. So I started the planning, but then I put it aside a bit because other life stuff happened in my private life. So I kept it, but that's definitely coming. But that's going to be more very, for a few people that can make it to this location, and that's not that's not the big picture for the channel, of course. The big picture is people that are probably struggling and trying to make something, trying to make a career as a translator. And that's why whenever a brand wants to work with me, for example, I have to hedge very much and say, we can do that, but it's for brand awareness, because my audience is not good in for if you want to convert, right? Because they're not there to try to spend money. They're trying to make at least some money, and a lot of my audience is from relatively poor countries. So what I try to do is connect people within. So whenever someone reaches out to me, I have a list. I have a management sheet basically where I keep my contacts that I make through the Freelanceverse. And if I notice, or if I have some analysis tools with this list as well, and if I see that people are working in the same industry, having the same dreams and goals, having the same language combinations, I try to connect them, just because it's always easier to work together as a community rather than doing it alone, right? But I cannot help much Brazilian Portuguese translator, right? I mean, I can give some advice, but in the end, you need connections within your niche, within your language. So that's what I try to do. I try to connect people that usually wouldn't meet. That's definitely one aspect. And then mostly is with one-to-one conversations that I can have the most impact, right? I'm still figuring out how I can leverage it more on a more larger community basis. I mean, I try to encourage people that they help each other as well in the comments, and that definitely works relatively often. But there you have the problem that most people write a comment and they don't come back to check the answer, right? So that's in that way, YouTube is not the best
Platform.
infrastructure for
Yeah,
that. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. But then
yeah.
I redirect people to communities like Team Translator. I don't know if you heard of them, a Slack channel that builds an amazing translator community over there. And so in my videos, I mention initiatives like this to bring my audience together with other colleagues' initiatives.
Like it's very interesting, and you mentioned it now about the big brands or the brands that you do not, like, I mean, that you don't bring them directly business, but this had made me an idea about us, and I wanted to ask you. And it's not only about brands; it's about personal brands, right? Like, not so many people, unfortunately, are good at building brands, and others are. I don't know if it's a matter of time, a matter of skills, or I don't know. No, I think it's a matter of attitude, but that's just my take, right? It's
Yeah.
like, hey, if I want to do it with my storytelling, with the tools that I have out there, with LinkedIn, with YouTube, which whatever I think is the more appropriate way, I will do this. It's gonna take me time. I'm persistent. I'm persistent. We will continue. You mentioned this at the beginning, right? But, and this is a message directed probably more to freelancers or to anyone. Can you give us, like, what would be the your advice that you would give those freelancers who are listening today, who are here with us today, for to build a strong personal brand that can set them apart in a crowded market with freelancers? What would you
Yeah.
tell them?
Yeah. Exactly, because what you just mentioned, because of the crowded market, that's why it's so important. And I see people who say, "Oh, I can't do that. I don't want to be in front of a camera," and that's not at all what I mean, right? You don't have to do that. You probably shouldn't if you think that's not for you. But there are thousands of other options and ways to build a brand, right? You just need to find your thing, your specific niche that you do, and whether it being on LinkedIn or something else on YouTube. Uh, and then stay consistent and build upon that. And when you see that something works, then you just stick to it and you go with that. And you don't even need to mention your name, right? Building a brand doesn't have to be like, for me now, okay, it's Freelanceverse, and it's also my name as the translation business. And what that does, it builds credibility, right? It builds social proof without you even having worked with a brand, for example. And it
Hmm.
happens often now that a company reaches out to me either through LinkedIn or through emails, saying that this and this person recommended you. Can we send you a job? And I don't even know this person that recommended me, right? The only reason that they do is because I show up somewhere in their LinkedIn or in their YouTube every Monday, and they have Swiss German. They probably have now linked to me, right? So if any client of them asks them for a Swiss German translator, they immediately think of me. And that's the power of then passive marketing, right? In that way, since I started Freelanceverse, I never did any client acquisition anymore. It all came through referrals, right? So in that
Well,
way, a personal brand is.
that's so lucky of yours. I did it myself, but it helped me. Like all the brand that I built, it really helped me. Like it's incredible to
Yeah,
see how like, and I take it as normal. It's like not to show off with anything, but it's beautiful to see how people stop you, sometimes scared at the conference and say like, "Hey, oh, you're that guy. Oh, you're Javi. You're the." And it's like, yeah, yeah. Like it's beautiful. It's beautiful. It
yeah,
really, it really recognizes that you're doing a good job, right? So I encourage you to do it. Anyone can do it. Build a purpose, build your community, tell them the a right story, right, Adrian?
yeah, yeah. And even if if you think, that's what I do a lot with people as well, that write me and they say, "Oh, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to build a brand. I have nothing like special about me." And there is always something that you can capitalize on, right?
Yes.
Even if you're just starting out. Just recently, I talked to a girl from India, and I told her, like, why don't you, on this whole process, I mean, every day you're working on building your profile, building your career as a freelance translator. Why don't you just document it? It's super interesting for people to
Yes.
follow that, right? And if you do that every day, or let's say every week, you share your story either in a text or if in a video, if you're comfortable with. That's so interesting. I would love to follow that. I would love to watch that. And
Yeah.
I hope she's going to do it, because that could then be her thing. Then that could build social proof, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So hey, thanks for having come today to the interview. It's great. I always feel connected talking to fellow people, especially to fellow millennials who are like
Yes.
trying to kick ass out there by helping and leaving a mark out there, right? And I think you're doing it, my friend. Thank you so much. Just any closing remarks? Would you like to give some advice to our listeners? How can they get started if they haven't gotten inspired by today's talk, or how to reach to you as well? Please let us know those. What would you tell them? Like, hey,
Yeah, in terms of outreach, you can always write me on LinkedIn. That's probably the best way to reach out. Um, More than welcome to check out the videos. There are now almost 200 videos out there, so there should be something out there for you. I have very good introductory videos of, like, where I share my approach. If I were to start tomorrow, freshly, what would I do? And they are received very well. So I think that's a good start. Then it's definitely worth to build a portfolio with volunteer work. At least that's what I did as well. There are plenty of organizations out there that you can sign up as a volunteer translator. That helps you because you can practice. It builds a portfolio, and you do something good for society, right? That's always a For me, that's a must start if you want to start as a translator. It's a great way to build something up. And then all the platforms out there that exist. If you're just starting out, you probably have to start on them. But very quickly, as soon as you can, I would pivot away from translator platforms, or from job gig websites, etc., and try to build real connections with
yeah,
boutique agencies, with direct clients. And that's how you can make it sustainable, because it's relatively hard to scale this business, right? Because you only have so much time in a day. So the only way to scale it is to always improve in terms of finding better clients that pay more and more. And you can charge not only the time you're working, as in like factory work type of thing, but rather you're paid for the education, for all that you've gone through before. Yeah.
well, Adrian, thanks so much. Like, thanks for being here. I got inspired. I got ideas after talking to you. I appreciate that. I hope that all of you listening did as well. And the next episode of Merging Minds. This is your Javi. Bye bye. Have a good day.
Thank you. Bye bye.